What is the problem with big dealerships? It's the way that they're designed in a way that's more intended to work against you than work with you. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Make Money Trucking. And I'm going to be going over what I believe to be the problem with big dealerships, whether this is for semi-truck dealerships or also automotive dealerships as well. And it really comes down to the fundamentals of the dealerships and how they operate from the ground up or top to bottom or bottom to top. And that's what I'm going to be going over, and what I think would be potential solutions to fix these problems to make the experience for not only the customer better, but also the dealership as well. And also a little disclaimer I want to throw out there: not all dealerships do these things that I'm going to go over. Some dealerships are good, some dealerships are bad. I've had both good experiences with big dealerships and bad experiences with dealerships. So let's start with the first thing. The first step. If you're an owner operator, the problem with going to a big dealership is going to be how they're structured. Now let's go through the steps when you go into a dealership to get your truck worked on and why this is a problem. And this is a problem for single owner operators or small trucking companies. This can also affect bigger trucking companies, but this is more of a problem for the little guy. So if I have a truck and I go into a dealership for a repair or for a service or whatever it may be, basically the first point of contact is going to be a service advisor. And the service advisor is going to book me in to get a service done or to get a truck repaired via, whatever the repair might be. Say you want to get brakes done, maybe you're getting an alignment done, or maybe you're getting an axle swapped out. So most service advisors get paid they usually have either two ways of pay. It's usually by commission and then a small salary wage. Usually not all of their salary is commission. I haven't seen that, if that is the case. And then, so basically your truck's going to go back to the mechanic to get worked on. And what's going to happen is that service advisor is going to have an incentive to upsell you or to get you to pay for something more. And the mechanics in the back know this. And also the parts guys as well. A lot of them are going to get paid off incentive, nominal number of sales for the day and a small hourly wage. So they're basically paid off commission. Not all dealerships are this way, but this is the problem, is that from the beginning of getting to the dealership to have your truck worked on, right off the bat, you've got someone dealing with you that gets paid off commission. So what are they wanting to do? They want to make more money for themselves. So if they can incentivize you to pay more money, then they're going to make more money. And that's the very problem with big dealerships and dealerships in general as far as service goes. So they're going to be pushing the mechanic to find problems to try to upsell. Now this is a big circle. The service advisor is going to want to make more money. So basically he's going to go to the mechanic, say, hey, is there anything wrong with that truck? We can probably upsell a customer, or fearmonger him into buying, which happens a lot. The mechanic's going to look at the truck, and the mechanic's going to make more money as well. It's all a circle. This all goes in a perfect circle. And then even the parts guy is going to make a commission off of that part that the mechanic, suggests to the service advisor to suggest to you to replace. So next thing you know, you get a phone call a day after your truck's, a day into your truck being worked on, and the service advisor is going to say, hey, while the mechanic was in here, they saw that your brakes are 50%. I would strongly suggest that you do the brakes. And for a small business owner like myself, or a guy who has just a couple trucks, depending on how well the service advisor kind of fearmongers the owner, they are going to okay the job or not okay the job. And that's going to be the problem, is you have a system that's just based off commission, and so that service advisor might poorly advise you to spend more money to fix stuff that may not need to be fixed because he wants to make more money. And in some corrupt situations, they can even go as far as suggesting, a new motor, a rebuild, a transmission, a full brake job. And this could be at the brink of you almost going broke. But if that service advisor can make $100 more off that job for the month, he'll do it. And that's where the bad fundamentals of big dealerships come in, is you've got all these parties that are paid off commission. So the only way they make money is to upsell you. And sometimes those upsells are not needed, and they're driven by fear, and it's all a complete circle. So that's number one problem, is a lot of these the people involved are paid on commission, and they're just like salesmen. They want to sell you something even if you don't need it. Sometimes they will tell you, hey, you've got a massive leak coming out of this area, this needs to be addressed. Like, for instance, I just had an oil pan gasket replaced on my truck because it was leaking like a sieve. Now that is an okay, observation for the service advisor to call you and say, hey, while we are in there doing this, we've seen you got a massive leak. Would you like us to take care of this? And then, in that scenario, it's a good thing, because then a problem gets avoided. They make more money, and you have a better truck by the time you leave. But a lot of times, these upgrades are made in bad faith. I mean, they're just trying to upsell you something to make more money. Now, the second problem that I have seen, and now, like I said, this is my experience. I was a mechanic before I became a truck driver. I wasn't a seasoned, 10-year veteran, but I was at an automotive dealership. And what happened with that is basically there's a big animosity between drivers and mechanics, and that just, I don't know why it's not even needed. We should both be understanding that the mechanics needed to fix a truck, and then the truck drivers need to drive the truck. Like, we both can't do this without the other person, so we need to work together. As a lot of times I see mechanics will be stupid driver, what does he know? He doesn't know anything. And then on the reverse end, if you're a driver, stupid mechanic, he's not out here driving this truck, he doesn't know what the heck he's talking about. And that animosity sometimes does not help when it comes to getting fair and good work done at a dealership, because that mechanic gets this attitude that he doesn't care about whoever owns a truck, because it's that driver versus mechanic, that battle. And then another thing is that everybody's under the assumption that if I come in there with my own truck, I don't know where this comes from, that I'm just made of money because I have my own business. And say if I have 2 or 3 trucks, so that's the third. This is gonna be the third problem, is that the assumption is that we're so rich and we make so much money that it won't hurt us if you rack up a $15,000 repair bill when we came in for a $5,000 repair bill. But this could not be farther from the truth, because these guys need to realize that the cost of doing business is, is very high. The operating cost of a trucking business is very high. It's almost double what other industries are. Yes, you can make a lot of money, but you're going to spend a lot of money to make that money. So that's what the dealerships need to recognize. These bigger, gigantic, conglomerate trucking companies across the country, that's a different story. So now number 4 is going to be part of number 3, which is don't confuse us smaller owner-operators or small trucking companies with the bigger trucking companies. We do not have multi-million-dollar businesses, and we cannot afford to absorb these astronomical repair bill quotes that you give us. And that's going to be the 4th problem, is you're confusing the small and little guys with the huge conglomerate trucking companies. And when a service advisor calls a huge company and says, hey, your truck, you should do this, this, and this because you're looking for an upsale, then that big company usually has the funding and has the ability to do it, because it's such a liability to them that they'll automatically approve it. Now, just because they're a big company, this isn't really the right way to do things anyways. But a lot of these service advisors, parts guys, and mechanics know, oh, that's a such and such truck for a huge company. I think this needs to be replaced. They'll approve it. And I've heard service advisors talk like this. This is from my personal experience. They'll approve it. I just got to call them and get a PO number or whatever. They'll approve it. It doesn't matter. Whatever we tell them, they'll do it because they've got an account with us, or they're a big company. But that's a problem. I'm sure the big companies could have I'm sure they have people in place to watch this and mitigate this, but I don't really know how they really can. They have so many trucks going to so many different dealerships. I don't think they can really keep track. So that's the problems. Now let's talk about solutions. So how do we solve this bad, big dealership stereotype that at least I believe and a lot of other people believe as well? And number 1 is going to be, convert your employees to hourly wage or a salary. Don't pay everybody on commission, because it just incentivizes people to use that in maybe a bad way to make themselves more money. And I don't fault a guy for trying to make a couple $100 extra for that month in commission, but he just doesn't realize that could be bankrupting somebody or breaking someone down and making them go broke. That $10,000 job he cost you by upselling it, and some guys just do whatever service advisors advise them to do, because they think they're doing it in good faith, but really the service advisor just wants to make money, and repair could have been held off, but they just, advise a little bit too early. Now, that would be a way to stop a lot of this, is the incentive to upsell. Now, so just make guys hourly, pay them a good hourly wage so that they don't feel like they've got to, quote unquote, screw over people to get more money for more service work being done. Now, the second thing, which is the mechanics, the animosity, or the other thing I talked about, the animosity between mechanics and drivers, and how to solve that is just to, give more understanding to the mechanics that, I'm sure, they go through enough training in this environment to understand that, hey, the driver's not the bad guy, that we're both needed in this industry to survive, because if there's not guys out there driving the trucks, there's not going to need to be mechanics to fix them. And we're both needed. You can't have one without the other. You got to have people to fix the truck. You got to have people to drive the truck. the mechanic doesn't have a job if there's no one driving the trucks, and the driver doesn't have a job if there's no mechanic to fix the truck when it breaks. So just have that understanding. And the other solution to the problem is, which I kind of already went over, is the need to, the big dealerships need to be able to differentiate a small company or a single owner operator from a gigantic conglomerate trucking company, because there's a lot of difference. I made this example, I talked about this example in my other videos, but when you go and have your truck serviced, as well as trying to oversell you on something and get more money out of you that way, they'll also let if they think you're a big trucking company, because a lot of these big trucking companies have multiple trucks. So if one sits for a week or two, it's not a big deal. But if a single trucking company owner operator sits for a week and two, he's losing a lot of money. Whereas those other trucking companies, the big conglomerates, have spare trucks or extra trucks a lot of times. So that's kind of my thoughts on why the fundamentals of big dealerships are wrong and why they get such a bad name. And I've seen some of this personally, and a lot of it I've heard stories about. And like I said, not all dealerships are like this, but most of the ones I've been to, it's all about, sell baby sell. That's all I care about. They just care about the upsell, because it's a big circle. And I understand, the dealership needs to make money, but putting your customer out of business potentially to make that couple extra $5,000 or $10,000 doesn't really seem worth it, because that guy's probably gonna be out of business, or he might not survive, and then you don't have a truck ever coming back. So I think that's a way to fix it. But hopefully you guys found this informative, and this is just my 2 cents on big dealerships. And this goes for automotive dealerships as well. I've seen really, really bad horror stories firsthand in the automotive sector of big dealerships with the upselling things. I've seen service advisors and parts guys pretty much sell people a full motor, a new engine for their car when they didn't need it, just because there might have been like a head gasket leak or something like that, and they advise the customer. A lot of times it's like an old lady or just somebody with who they think has a lot of money, and they'll tell them, hey, you need a new motor, and they've actually gotten that approved somehow. And then the service advisor gets that upsell, and then to make matters worse, instead of going out and purchasing a brand new engine for this one customer, the parts guys went and found a junkyard motor, had the mechanics inspect it, and then installed it and charged almost what the same price would be for a new motor. I don't know if they told the customer that it was a new motor, but they made the language very hard to understand, to where it's almost seemed like, if you read that invoice, it seemed like the customer is getting a new engine, but really they just bought a junkyard engine for maybe $1,500 and still end up charging the customer probably $4,000 to $4,000 for that engine. I think tricking them under the assumption that it was new, but it was just a used motor. And it was a good motor, but that doesn't mean it's worth that. So, all right, guys, hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you don't get trapped by this. Check out some of my other videos. This is why I highly suggest going to smaller independent shops versus big dealerships. I know they're needed and they're a necessity to an extent, but I think that there is room to improve, and we can fix this problem. If some dealerships would get on board with this, I think that there would be a lot more experience, or a lot better experience from both ends, instead of this constant fear of like having to go to the dealership to get work done on a truck, because you just know that they're going to play games with you. And then they wonder why, oh, there's this pissed off truck driver coming in again, and they don't really understand it, I guess. But there is a reason for it, because I think a lot of us feel like we're getting tried to get taken advantage of. They're trying to take advantage of us. But all right, guys, hopefully you found this helpful, and I will see you on the next one. Comment down below if you've had any of these experiences. All right, see you guys in the next one.